Hello. Welcome, welcome. Happy hump day. My computer must be really hot because the fan is going on my computer. Hello, hello. As you hop on, can you tell me, can you hear the buzzing like in the background? Because I can hear it on my end and I want to make sure it's like not distracting. So let me know in the comments if you can hear a buzzing in the background of this video. That would be super helpful. And also just say hi. So say hi and tell me if you hear buzzing, because if so, I might need to move. Okay. Impromptu live today because I was taking a shower, which is my magic place where I receive downloads. And let me know if you do too. And I was in the shower and I don't know, things started flowing through my brain and I was like, I need to talk about this right now. And I was specifically thinking about imposter syndrome. And then I was noticing a pattern with myself, which is the formula part. And quite honestly, part of the reason why I'm calling this video my secret formula is because I've always wanted to say that. I've always like hated when people say that, my secret to whatever, but secretly, I always wanted to say it. Do you guys like my nails? They need to be done. So my secret formula, but it's not a secret. It won't be after I talk about it, but it's just my formula for feeling really good and also my formula for setting myself up to receive just downloads and energy and everything that I receive when I do this formula. So I'm going to share with you my formula, and then I want to talk about imposter syndrome because this is something that I've been running into so much. I mean, I always have imposter syndrome, but I also have been running into it a lot with people that I've been in conversation with this week and last week, and also clients and just people in the community. So we're going to talk about imposter syndrome. But first of all, my secret formula for feeling good. Okay, so this is what I do. This is what I do. And this has been really important for me because it's just been a rough few months. If I'm being honest, probably since like end of April, maybe beginning of May, it's just felt like really, you know, and I mean, not all the time, but I've just had a lot more low moments that I've had than I have had in a long time. And typically that's like my season. It's like late spring, early summer. I go through this season where I'm just like, I just can't. It's a lot of like healing stuff, a lot of triggers, and it takes a lot of emotional energy. So yeah, I've been going through that. And then the spiral that comes from that. So it's been really important for me to have just practices that help me out of it, because it's so hard sometimes when you're in that space. Maybe you're feeling a little depressed, or maybe you're just in a funk, or maybe you're just like you're having a bad day, whatever it is. When you're in that space, it's so hard to do the thing that you know will help you feel better. I mean, it is for me. I think like I like to be relaxed by nature. I like to just chill. I don't like to do a lot. And I didn't realize that for a really long time. I was always a busybody overachiever, all of the things. But since I started experimenting with human design in the last 4 years, I've realized like how chill I actually am by nature. And so, when I go through these phases, there's been a lot of deconditioning work that I have done around this. But when I go through these phases, when I'm just fucking low, and for whatever reason it might be, it's so hard for me to just do the things. Like once I get off my routine, it's so hard for me to get back on my routine. And then I'm not feeling great. And so then I'll start kind of like beating myself up. Well, you got off your routine. It's like that inner critic voice that I was never actually very aware of and now am. And that inner critic is a lot quieter now than ever, but she's still there. Right. And so I go through these. Let me know if this is resonating with any of you, because I fucking know it is. Okay. Don't be afraid. Let me know it's resonating with you, because we're going to just clear some of that shit out. But you know, when you're in that space and you're just like, okay, I'm feeling low. There doesn't even have to be a reason. I'm just low. And I don't want to do the thing that I know I need to do. Try this out. Okay. Because what I have realized is that this helps me every single time. And sometimes it's hard for me to get myself to do it. But once I get myself to do it, which for me is typically like I have to prepare myself ahead of time, I have to get in the headspace that I'm going to do it. Like it takes me a little bit to work up to it, you know, but you kind of have to set yourself up for it. Like whatever you know that will help you succeed in just getting started with this practice resonates and no buzz. Okay, good. So whatever you need to do to just start. This is my secret formula. Okay. So the first thing I do is I work out. Okay. I work out, and preferably like an actual workout that is like vigorous. Like I need to sweat. I need to get my endorphins going. I need to feel like I'm exerting myself. It's almost like I'm pushing energy out. Like I'm really just clearing. And that is part of my practice too. So whatever it is, typically I like to go to the gym because it's like a lot of people's energy in one place. So it feels more neutral than being in my own house, cooped up in the playroom with my two children. Like that feels more intense to me than being at a gym with a lot of people. So I like to go to the gym, and I have my special treadmill that's right in front of the window overlooking the water because, you know, shores environment. So that's my shit. And I've got my treadmill, always the same one. And no, that's not the point, but you don't have to always go to the same treadmill, but I'm just letting you know, this is what I do. And I hop on there and I have my little routine that I do. And while I'm doing it, I visualize clearing energy, and I will like visualize me like pulling myself out of my funk. Like I just visualize it as I'm moving my body. And I like let whatever feelings come up that need to come up. I've teared up on the treadmill. I have like put my hands on my heart on the treadmill. Like I don't give a fuck, because this is like a really sometimes it's intense for me anyway. Let me know if you've tried this. When you are exercising, moving your body or whatever, do you do like a visualization? This is like so key for me. So I do this visualization, and I'm visualizing the energy moving out. I'm visualizing me like pulling myself out of my funk, whatever I've been putting off, because this is a trigger for me. A big trigger for me is some task that I don't want to do that I've been putting off. And then I start to feel ashamed that I'm not doing it. And so for me, like, I just have to visualize myself doing it. I have to visualize myself doing it. I have to visualize how it feels once it's done. Like I do all this while I'm exercising, because I feel that when those endorphins are going, when I'm working up a sweat, when my heart is going and I can't really like do anything else, it's almost like I'm elevating my state, my emotional state, my physical. I'm just elevating my energetic state so much, paired with the visualization. It's like what Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches about, right? And so it's basically manifesting, but I do it while I'm moving my body is the point. So this like really helps me to elevate. So then after that, and I'll, you know, sometimes I lift or whatever. So I go through my whole movement practice, and then I stretch my body and I just like soak it in. I imagine like just my body feeling so nourished by that. Like this visualization practice goes throughout my entire workout. And then I feed myself something very nourishing, like something that I'm really excited to eat, but also something that is going to like replenish me. And then I make myself coffee, and I take like one puff from my vape. Okay. And I turn on the shower and I drink my coffee in the shower. And when I am in the shower, after I've gone through this whole thing, I also do like my magical morning practice in the car, either on the way to or from the gym. That's a big part of it too. If you don't know what magical morning practice is, go follow Gala Darling. She talks about it. It's hers. And, you know, after I do this practice and then I get in the shower, it's like just all the energy, all the downloads, all the things come through to me. And I now realize like this is such an urge. This is such a manifestor urge. Like I recognize that that's, you know, part of it, but part of getting to the place where I can even be open to an urge is me clearing this space and elevating my state. And for me, that's usually when the downloads and the ideas and the energy, the urge comes. But if I don't have that practice that helps me get into that state, even though the lows are really useful for creativity, right? Like a lot of my creative stuff comes from when, like right after I've been in a low. When I'm in the low, I'm not really able to get there. I'm not really able to create from that space. I have to be able to get myself out of it. And so that's my secret formula. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you're going to try that. And let me know like what your version is, right? Not everyone's going to have the same version, but like this is the thing when you find yourself really procrastinating or you find yourself just like in a funk or you like just can't seem to like just give yourself that boost, have some sort of practice that you can fall back on that's like, you know, it's going to help you out. That's mine. Okay. Next, you need to know, I just booked my flight. It's Wednesday. I booked my flight. I am literally flying out in what, like 36 hours, I think. Yeah, 36 hours. I'm going to LA. I'm going to Gala Darling's event, Vortex Fest. If you are going to Vortex Fest, will you please leave a comment right now and let me know? I would love to see you there. I will see you there. I'm so excited, and I'm spending the weekend in LA, and I'm going to see some friends. And it's very exciting, especially because I just never really imagined that this is what I would be doing. I never really imagined that I would be like traveling to meet these incredible people. And I realized this is a thing I do where if I find someone really fascinating, whether it be in real life or on the internet, I just want to get closer to them, right? I'm super drawn to them. I want to learn about them. I want to be in their energy, all of the things. And I want to like be their friend. I want to be like in their world. And, you know, I've done that a couple of times. Like when I found Chelsea Diane, I was so fascinated with her. I wanted to be in her energy. I just went to fucking Italy with her and a bunch of other women. And now Gala Darling, you know, I'm so excited to meet her. So I'll be sure to share a lot of that journey on stories over the weekend as I travel to LA and enjoy all those things. But yeah, highly recommend that. If there's someone, even if it's on Instagram and you're like, there's such an expander for you in whatever way, try to get near them in real life. It's such a game changer. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about imposter syndrome. I took notes again because that worked really well for me last week. I did my feel good formula and then the ideas were flowing and I typed them all out into my little Asana. And then I hit record on Zoom and I hopped on Instagram Live. And so right now we are recording a podcast episode and an Instagram Live at the same time. Okay. So imposter syndrome. First of all, you need to know that I am a first-line profile in human design. Okay. I have imposter syndrome. Like it's like my state of being. No, it's not that bad anymore. But you know, I think this was something about being a first line that I kind of resented for a while because, you know, the first line profile, you know, assuming you know what I'm talking about, let me know if you don't. Also, let me know your profile if you're a first line, especially. So I'm a 1-3 profile. The first line profile is the investigator or the researcher, right? They want to know everything. And it's not for the sake of knowing things. Like I don't nerd out because I love to nerd out. I happen to be a nerd and I happen to nerd out because if I don't know as much as I can about a thing that I'm interested in or that's important to me, I feel unprepared and emotionally weak. Like I just don't feel, I feel like not grounded. Right? 1-3 is we're the foundation builders. We are the foundation. That is what we do because we want to feel like we're strong and stable by knowing as much as we possibly can. Well, a lot of times we're the ones who experience like the strongest imposter syndrome. Amelia says she's a 1-3 as well. Let me know if this resonates with you, Amelia. But because we really do want to know everything so that we can feel prepared and strong and set that foundation, obviously it's impossible to know everything. So we always have to live with not knowing everything. And so I think this really does intensify that imposter syndrome. And a lot of times we don't know how much we actually know. I get this from my certification students who have a first line in their profile the most. They're like, I'm joining because I don't know what I don't know. It's like they want to know what they don't know, and then they know it, and then they feel way, way more confident. Yeah. It does take a while sometimes to get to the jump. Yes. But I think this is gonna help you. Okay. So I have resented that a lot about being a first line profile. And like, why do I have to know everything? Like, why do I feel like I have to be so solid? I have to know everything, before I can open my mouth. Like it feels like a crutch sometimes, or sometimes it feels like a waste of time. I'm like, I feel like this is a waste of time. I don't want to do this, but I just like have to. Like in my business, I feel like I have to know every little detail before I hand it off. And I realize in a lot of ways that is a gift, and that's part of my leadership. And I have moved to the place where I can really accept and celebrate that about myself. But I, in the past, did not always, right? It's kind of like wanting to be lazy, but feeling like you can't, And so, long story short, I have resented being a first line in the past, and through a lot of experimentation, through a lot of growth, all of that, I moved into this phase of acceptance. Okay, acceptance. I'm always going to walk with imposter syndrome. Even if you're not a first line profile in human design, there are other elements of your human design that can really intensify imposter syndrome. Do you have the channel of curiosity? Do you have fear, motivation, right? There are other aspects of your human design that I would say can really intensify imposter syndrome for you. And so even if you're not a first line, if you feel like imposter syndrome holds you back, like tune in right now. Get your pencil out. Okay. So I started to accept that I'm just going to walk with imposter syndrome, and like, I'm going to do the best that I can. And rather than get so wrapped up in the inner dialogue around, doubting my abilities, that's what imposter syndrome is. Instead of getting caught up in that inner dialogue, what I'm going to do is I'm going to listen to my body, and I'm going to follow my authority, and I'm going to trust my timing. I'm going to trust my timing, and, I'm going to take as much action as I can. And like, I'm just going to learn the hard way. Right. So yes. So Amelia says, recently I had a situation where deep down I knew the path I needed to take to freedom, but I listened to my conditioning and I went down the opposite path. In a way, it feels like a one scenario. Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. I resonate with that. So, you move into this acceptance that you're just always going to walk with imposter syndrome, but you trust yourself enough to move when it's time to move. You trust yourself enough to take action when it's time to take action, even though you're afraid you don't know enough. Like you just accept it. And I moved into that space. But now I feel like I'm in a space where it's not that I'm just accepting that I'm always going to have some level of imposter syndrome. It's also that I'm really celebrating my imposter syndrome because it's doing a lot of things for me, and it's part of my gift to share to the world. And I always say this, our human design, your human design, my human design, they're not for us, they're for each other, right? That's why we experience each other's energy. And so me as a 1-3, yes, I want to know as much as I can about the things that interest me, but it's not just for me, right? It's for everyone. Whether I choose to share it or not, my presence in the world proves that it's not just for me. So your imposter syndrome as a 1, this, if you choose to follow it, if you choose to see it as an invitation and really celebrate it, this is where I think it really becomes a gift. Okay. And I talk about this too, especially if you've ever been a student, like in my certification, Embodied by Design, or if you've ever taken a class with me. We talked about this in Radical Alignment a couple weeks ago, Human Design in Your Business, whatever. A lot of my work, I talk about this. Your fears, your insecurities, your conditioning, the pressure, like your undefined centers, those pressures and the conditioning, all that stuff. It's a burden in the way that like it sucks to deal with it all, right? It sucks to face it all. It like the process sometimes is sucky, really like facing all of it and moving into a different way of being. But to me, these fears, insecurities, shadows, conditioning, pressures that we feel, these are actually our greatest gifts and our greatest potential. When we have the courage to not just be aware of them, not just accept them, but actually like transcend them and gain some wisdom from them and then share it, which is like, this is kind of what I am doing right now with my imposter syndrome that I have struggled with so much and still now sometimes struggle with it too. But like, I'm choosing to see it differently, celebrate it, and share it with you. And so I feel like this is like, this is what we do with our fears and our insecurities. We don't try to fix them necessarily, but we ask like, what is the gift that's been given in this weird wrapping, right? In this weird, like ugly wrapping, there's something beautiful inside of there. Like, what could it be? Okay. So, okay. Definition of imposter syndrome. And I got this from this article from Harvard Business Review, but it said, imposter syndrome is loosely defined as doubting your abilities and feeling like a fraud. It disproportionately affects high-achieving people who find it difficult to accept their accomplishments. Many question whether they're deserving of accolades. Hello. That so resonates. Okay. So instead of just, I want that to land for a second too, because you probably, like anyone who's in this space is like entrepreneurial and probably has some element of like achievement about you, high achievers. So you probably really resonate with that, which is why I say it's something that most of us kind of struggle with. But anyway, instead of just like attaching to the story of having imposter syndrome, take a moment and reflect on why you're doubting your abilities. Okay, I have imposter syndrome, so I'm doubting my abilities. Why? Like, what is the reason? And here are some reasons why you might be doubting your abilities. First of all, it's worth noting that we live in a culture of competition, shaming, canceling. If you can't come off as like perfect and palatable for every person on the planet, So basically be a robot. Even then, probably someone's going to get pissed that you're a robot. I don't know. You really are in danger of at least being verbally assaulted. You're in danger of at least mean comments aimed at you. And at most, like you're in danger of your entire reputation or career being burned down because you said something someone didn't like. Obviously, there's a spectrum, right? You might have actually said something that's awful, but we have all witnessed people say things that are not bad, not really malicious or anything, but someone didn't like it and they were harassed or canceled or whatever. And so like our brains are like, fuck that. No, I don't want to put myself in danger like that. So I wanted to mention that because I think that sometimes that can look like imposter syndrome too, or like we mask it with imposter syndrome, not consciously, but we're like, oh, I have imposter syndrome. Like I don't feel like I can share. I don't feel like I know enough. But it's like, do you really not know enough, or are you actually afraid? Like, is there? Does it feel like dangerous? You know? And I think that isn't really imposter syndrome. That is actually like feeling unsafe to share because of the potential consequences. And like I said, a lot of us have witnessed that. So that's valid. It's like a survival mechanism, So for example, I felt imposter syndrome when I first started working with human design and I wanted to share it online. And by the way, every post I've ever put up on Instagram is currently on my feed. People have told me to clean it up or whatever. I'm like, why? I don't know. And also like if you can scroll way down, like when I first started, like I was working with human design for a while before I started sharing on Instagram, because I had witnessed some people in the human design community like make fun of or publicly shame other people in the community for not sharing human design in the way that they thought they should. And that was like, that sucked, because I'm like, okay, well now I'm afraid now I'm afraid to share anything because I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want to be publicly humiliated if like I say something wrong, or not even wrong, I say something that like someone else doesn't like. Ugh, it irritates me so much. I'm feeling my blood boil, and I don't want to dig into it because that's not what the point of this live is for. But I just wanted to give you an example of what that was versus what imposter syndrome actually is. Because that, like, what I was telling myself was that I don't know enough, but really I knew enough. I was just afraid that someone would disagree with me and like cancel me, basically, which there's not really much to cancel, but you know what I'm saying? Like that was a real fear. But that's different from imposter syndrome. And to that point as well, this did help me to grow anyway, because obviously I also had insecurities to work through. I had actual insecurities to work through, and but I also didn't feel safe at that time to really just share and be seen. And so I had to cultivate safety in my own body, but I also had to take action to be the kind of leader who doesn't behave that way and who doesn't condone that behavior in other people. So, I'm never gonna come on here and be like, well, so and so said blah blah blah, and here's why that's wrong. Like that's not my platform. Like that's not my style. I'm honestly, I'm not even judging you if it is. Like you live your life. That's not my style. And so part of the actions that I take are like not being that person. really like just knowing what kind of person I am and just being her and just setting an example for the leadership that I would like to see more of. And, so I've done a lot of growth with that, but point being, long story short, that's not entirely imposter syndrome. Okay. Now, you might also be doubting your abilities because you're comparing them to someone else's and you're feeling insecure. That's fair, right? Because you're going to go on Instagram and like maybe you're a brand designer. Well, there are thousands of brand designers, and obviously not everyone has the same level of experience, skill, talent. So yeah, you're going to look at someone else's work and be like, wow, they're really good. Or you're going to read their content and be like, oh shit, she knows what she's talking about. And then that might make you feel a little bit insecure. Now, in this example, again, I think this is such a beautiful invitation for growth, because you have to realize that you don't know what the fuck their journey is, right? Like you don't know, they could have been, designing since they were 4 years old. Maybe they're a prodigy. You don't know, right? At the same time, instead of, just brushing it off and being like, no, I'm just going to work on, not even looking at that, not even comparing, which of course, like a lot of comparison can hurt, but some comparison is really useful. And in this case, I think it is. I think it's useful to be like, just be honest with yourself. What about what they're doing or sharing or whatever makes you feel that way? Makes you feel insecure about your own skill or ability or energy or experience? Because once you know that, now you know what actions to take, right? So for instance, if they're really good about creating content for socials that conveys the kind of work that they do, and that really impresses you, and you feel like you're lacking in that area, then you know that you're going to work on your communication and maybe copywriting skills. We talked about this last week in the live too. Like, this is your opportunity to understand where your next invitation for growth is. It might be a practical skill. It might be an energy. You might feel imposter syndrome, or you might feel insecure watching someone else because it feels like they're embodying their work in a way that maybe you aren't, or they have an energy that you feel like you're lacking in. To me, those are just clues. To me, those are like little pulls from your heart or your soul, like, hey, pay attention. You're having this reaction, you're having this emotion or whatever, to help you pay attention that this is a clue for you. This is an invitation for you. So in that way, I think imposter syndrome that's based on like comparison, or, just knowing that you have room for growth, and we all have room for growth, but that's it, isn't it? We all know that we can grow and improve in unlimited ways. But when we feel those reactions in our body, to me, that's an illumination of your path of growth for now. And this too, like for my students, I find this a lot. So a lot of our Embodied by Design certification students, the program is now open for enrollment, by the way. A lot of them have already gone through some sort of reader training or study, and they're still applying to join my program. And at first I was surprised about this. Oh, why? Now I realize it's because they did this program and learned a lot about the system, but now they're seeing I've gotten this feedback quite a bit actually, and I'm flattered, but people have said, I love that you are this embodiment of your work, and that it feels like there's a lot of focus on the integration And that's where I lack confidence, is actually applying this in real life ways with myself, my business, and or my clients. And they found me, or they found my program, and there was just a pull, and to me, that's a clue. You're being asked to maybe improve your skill or integrate your skill, embody a new way, a new knowledge, a new way of being, whatever, and you're being pointed in the direction of this program. So yeah, could be imposter syndrome, or could we reframe it and look at it like an invitation to grow into where your soul's calling you to grow? I don't know. Let me know if that resonates. Okay, what's next? Oh, okay. You may also, I'm looking at my notes in case you just got on. You may also be doubting your abilities because you have a loud inner critic and are not yet fully aware of it. This is totally me. And every single time I think I have finally cracked it, I finally have become fully aware in the moment of my inner critic, and I fully know how to quiet it and change the story, whatever, some other new belief or thought is revealed. And I'm like, where the fuck did that come from? I thought I had worked through all those fucking beliefs. No. Okay. So the inner critic. Sorry, I lost my place. Oh, again, an invitation though, right? So I had this belief, I had this thought, and this was like, I heard it, I heard it, like not heard it, but I just became aware of it suddenly. I suddenly became aware of this thought, and I was like, what? I can't believe that I have this thought. I can't believe that I have this belief right now, because this was very recent. I had this belief that, or this thought that people who give, like students or clients, or anyone who gives feedback to me about my work and their experience of my work, there's this little voice that says they're just being nice. And I was like, oh my God. And once I became aware of it, I'm like, yes, I see how this whisper that I wasn't aware of was really shaping my behaviors in a few ways. Yeah. And that's so interesting. I'm not even a 2-line, so that was really interesting, because now with the awareness of this voice, this inner critic, this also is an invitation for me. Where did that thought fucking come from? Where did that come from? And really taking an honest look at how that shows up and how I can change that story, how I can rewire, reframe, and learn from it, and then share the lesson. So stay tuned for that live. But really, that inner critic, yeah, your inner bitch, just quiet her, just tell her to shut up. Okay, yes, but first let's actually listen to her, because she's so loud. Sometimes she gets so loud and so mean just because you won't listen to her. So trying to shut her up is only going to make her scream louder. You have to turn around, look her straight in the eye, and be like, I'm here listening. What do you have to say? What do you need me to know? How can I help you? So that's what I'll be doing. Oh, and it's full moon energy. Perfect timing. So, here's an invitation for you right now to do a little bit of homework of just become aware of that inner critic. Next time you hear a thought that surprises you, next time you become aware of a thought that surprises you, and your inclination is to just shut that thought up, sweep it under the rug, listen. Turn around, look that inner critic straight in the eye and ask her, what's up? Tell me, I'm here, I'm listening. I got you. Let it be heard, and journal it out, because that's your invitation to tap, to do breath work, to embodiment, therapy, whatever it is you have to do to heal whatever that is, so you can rewire your brain and create a new pattern. Okay? Okay. And this process as well will bring you confidence too. Like, I know for me, even just becoming aware of the thought and being like, oh, that's not true. That in itself is really empowering. That in itself, like, lets me breathe a breath of fresh air. I feel a weight lifted. You know, that alone will give you confidence, right? So long story short, I've been live a long time. Long story short, let's spend less time just working through your imposter syndrome, right? We're spending a lot of time identifying that you have imposter syndrome and just being like, okay, I need to somehow overcome imposter syndrome. Like, sit there a little bit longer instead of trying to jump to some solution where you don't feel like you have imposter syndrome. Sit in that pot and stew a little bit. What's in the pot? What's in the imposter syndrome pot? What is it really? Is it a real safety issue? Is it a lack of skill? Not a lack of skill, but, you know, just a room to improve your skill or to grow your ability, you know? Or is it your inner critic? What is the root of the imposter syndrome? Spend your time and your energy identifying the root, and then just taking action to address the root cause of the imposter syndrome. Do you need to learn a new skill? Do you need to get some support? Do you need to feel safe in your body? Do you need to speak out about something? Whatever it is, taking that, like, identifying and taking the action is like the only thing that will help you get out of that imposter syndrome. Okay. With this in mind, if you are like someone I was just talking about, if you are studying human design, whether self-study or with another mentor or in a class or in a training program, whatever, or you've completed one, especially, yeah, more like if you've completed one. If you've completed one and you're still not feeling grounded in not just the knowledge of the system itself, but how the knowledge can be applied in meaningful ways in your life, in your business, and also how you can use it in your work with clients, all kinds of clients, I invite you to join us for Embodied by Design, my practitioner certification. It's for those of you who are already coaches, practitioners, healers, nutritionists, you know, service providers, OBMs, whatever. You're working with people and you want to be able to embody your own most authentic energy expression, your human design, and build your business with that as the foundation. And also, you want to use this in your work with clients in a very embodied, practical way. And you want to learn in community with other leaders for 4 months and have fun and play and nerd out on human design and business and all the things, please join us. The applications are currently open. We were going to close them tomorrow, which is Thursday, August 11th. But I actually screwed up the dates in my calendar, and we don't need to close until the end of the weekend, which is perfect because there's been a little chaos in my week this week, and I would like a little bit more time to communicate with you about the program. So if you have any questions, you have a few more days to ask your questions and get them answered by me. And if you are interested, whether you are watching this now live or you're watching the replay, you can send me a DM, you can leave a comment, or you can just go straight to my bio and fill out an application. And I'll book you in for a discovery call next week. Okay. Sending you so much love. I'm gonna go get my nails done tomorrow. So